Jake Morrison walked into the underground room deep beneath Mount Cheyenne. The place looked like something from a science fiction movie. Dozens of computers blinked with colorful lights. Big screens showed maps of the world covered in red dots that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air smelled of metal and electricity. He had been the base commander for 3 years, but nothing had prepared him for what he was about to learn. Dr. Lisa Carter stood near the biggest screen, her face pale and tired. She had not slept much in the past week since making her discovery. "Show me what you found," Jake said, crossing his arms. He was a military man who liked facts, not theories. Lisa pointed to the screen. "Those red dots are transmission points. They have been sending signals for over 200 years. But these are not our signals, Jake. They come from somewhere else." The discovery had started by accident 3 weeks ago. Paul Davis was just a regular technician who fixed satellites. He was doing routine work when he noticed something strange in the electromagnetic readings. The patterns did not match anything in their databases. "At first, we thought it was interference from solar activity," Lisa explained. But then Paul noticed the signals were too organized. They had a pattern like a language. Jake studied the map. The red dots covered every major city on Earth: New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Sydney. There were thousands of them. What kind of signals? Very low-frequency transmissions that piggyback on our own communication networks. Internet, cell phones, radio, television, satellite communications. Every device that sends or receives data has been carrying these hidden signals. Paul Davis joined them at the screen. He was young, maybe 25, with messy brown hair and thick glasses. "Commander, when I first saw this, I thought our equipment was broken. But then I tested it on different systems. The signals are everywhere." Lisa pulled up another display. "We call the source the architects. We do not know what they look like or where they come from exactly. But we know they have been influencing human behavior through these transmissions." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Influencing how?" "Subliminal programming. The signals are designed to affect brain chemistry at frequencies we cannot consciously detect. They have been slowly changing how humans think and act." Captain Amy Rodriguez entered the room. She was the head of their newly created Special Operations Team. Her short black hair was pulled back tightly, and her dark eyes looked worried. "The analysis is complete," Amy said, holding a thick folder. "The scope is bigger than we thought. These architects have been guiding human development for centuries." She opened the folder and spread papers across the table. Financial records, historical documents, political decisions, even cultural trends. All connected by the subtle influence of alien signals. "Look at this," Amy continued. "Every major war, every economic crash, every political revolution. The signals intensify right before these events. They have been steering us like sheep." Lisa nodded grimly. "We found evidence that they influence everything. What movies become popular, what music people like, what clothes they wear, even what food they eat. They have been shaping human culture to make us more compliant." Jake picked up one of the documents. It showed signal patterns during the 2008 financial crisis. The alien transmissions had spiked dramatically in the months before the markets collapsed. "Why?" Jake asked. "What did they want?" "Integration," Lisa answered. "Based on the signal patterns, we believe they are preparing Earth to join some kind of galactic empire. They want humans as subjects, not as equals." Paul pointed to his computer screen. "Look at this data from the past month. The signal strength has increased by 30%. Whatever they are planning, it is accelerating." Amy sat down heavily in a chair. "We have been living in a prison we built ourselves. Every smartphone, every computer, every smart TV has been a tool for our own mental enslavement. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Jake thought about his own life, his own decisions. How many of his choices had really been his own? How many people know about this? He asked. Just us and about 20 others worldwide, Lisa replied. We have been careful about who we tell. We do not know who might be more susceptible to their influence. Amy stood and walked to the window that showed the mountains outside. We have been in contact with similar groups in other countries. There are people in Russia, China, Australia, and Europe who have made the same discovery. We are not alone in this. But we might be too late, Paul added quietly. The signals are getting stronger every day. If they can already influence most of human behavior, what happens when they decide they do not need to be subtle anymore? Jake looked around the room at his team. These people had discovered the greatest threat humanity had ever faced. Not an invasion from space with ships and weapons, but something much worse. The aliens had turned humans into their own prison guards. What are our options? He asked. Lisa pulled up a new screen showing technical diagrams. We think we can disrupt their network, but it would require cutting all electronic communications simultaneously. Internet, phones, satellites, everything. That would send us back to the Stone Age, Amy protested. Better than being slaves, Paul said firmly. Jake studied the faces of his team. He saw fear, but also determination. These people understood what was at stake. Human freedom itself hung in the balance. Outside the underground facility, millions of people went about their daily lives, never knowing that their thoughts and actions were being guided by an alien intelligence. They believed they were free, but freedom was just an illusion created by their hidden masters. The architects had been patient, taking centuries to slowly condition humanity for submission. But now their greatest mistake was about to be revealed. They had underestimated the human spirit and the power of a few people who refused to be controlled. Jake Morrison looked at his team and made a decision that would change the course of human history. We fight back. Dr. Ben Hughes stared at his computer screen with growing horror. The numbers did not lie. For the past 2 weeks, he had been working with Lisa Carter's team to map the alien control system. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. Every single device, Ben muttered to himself as he typed. Every phone, every computer, every television, every car with GPS. They're all connected to their network. He rubbed his tired eyes and took another sip of cold coffee. The underground facility had become his home. He barely left his workstation anymore. The weight of discovery pressed down on him like a heavy blanket. Jake Morrison walked over to Ben's desk. What did you find now? Ben turned his screen so Jake could see the complex diagram. It looked like a spider web covering the entire planet. Red lines connected millions of dots across every continent. The architects did not just add their signals to our technology, Ben explained. They helped design it from the beginning. Every major breakthrough in electronics, computers, and communications has been guided by them. Jake felt sick to his stomach. How far back does this go? At least to the invention of radio in the 1890s. Maybe earlier. They have been patient, Jake. They spent over a century building this control system into the foundation of human civilization. Lisa Carter joined them at the workstation. She carried a stack of papers covered in charts and graphs. The psychological analysis is complete. The signals work by affecting brain chemistry at specific frequencies. Most people cannot resist them at all. Most people? Jake asked. About 15% of humans show some natural resistance, Lisa continued. Artists, writers, musicians, people who think differently. The architects could not completely suppress human creativity without making us useless to them. Ben pulled up another screen showing brain scan images. Look at this. People under strong alien influence show reduced activity in areas responsible for independent thinking and decision-making. But the creative areas remain active. They want us smart enough to be useful, but not smart enough to rebel, Jake said. Dr. Hughes nodded grimly. Exactly. They've been breeding us like livestock, selecting for intelligence and compliance while trying to eliminate independence. Amy Rodriguez entered the room carrying a secure phone. I just finished talking with our contacts in other countries. The situation is the same everywhere. Moscow, Beijing, London, Tokyo. Everyone has found the same control network. She sat down at the table and opened her laptop. But there is something else. We are not the first planet they have done this to. The room went quiet. Lisa, Ben, and Jake gathered around Amy's computer as she showed them intercepted alien communications. Our code breakers in Australia managed to decode some of their transmissions, Amy explained. The architects call Earth Project 7. There were 6 other worlds before us. Ben leaned forward. What happened to the other 6? Complete integration. The populations were absorbed into their empire as worker colonies. No independence, no creativity, no rebellion. Just perfect obedience. Jake stood and walked to the wall where they had hung a world map covered in red pins. Each pin marked a location where they had confirmed alien control signals. There were thousands of them. How do we know we are even thinking clearly right now? He asked. How do we know this conversation is not being influenced by them? It was the question that haunted everyone working on the project. Lisa had been studying this problem for days. We think this facility is partially shielded, she said. The rock above us and the metal walls block some of their signals. Plus, we have been using special equipment that filters out their frequencies. Only partially shielded? Ben asked with concern. The signals are everywhere, Ben, in the air and the ground, bouncing off satellites. Complete shielding would require us to live in a metal box with no electronic devices at all. Amy pulled up files on her computer showing personnel records. We have been testing everyone who works here. People react differently to exposure to alien frequencies. Some get headaches, some feel confused, some become unusually agreeable. What about the general population? Jake asked. Most people do not even notice. The signals have been part of their environment their whole lives. Their brains adapted to them. They think the influenced thoughts are their own thoughts. Ben showed them a video feed from security cameras in nearby Colorado Springs. People walked down the street, drove cars, went to work, lived their normal lives. But now the team knew the truth. Those people were not really free. Look at their movements, Ben pointed out. Notice how they all walk at similar speeds, how they respond to traffic signals, how they behave in crowds. It is too organized, too predictable. Lisa had been studying human behavior patterns for weeks. Major decisions are not made by individuals anymore. The architects coordinate choices across entire populations. Elections, consumer purchases, even personal relationships are influenced. Personal relationships? Jake asked. Dating apps, social media, even chance meetings are guided by their system. They want humans to form stable pairs that will produce children who are even more susceptible to control. Amy stood and walked to the communications equipment. There is more bad news. Our monitoring stations have detected a change in signal patterns over the past week. The architects are preparing for something big. She turned on a speaker that played the alien transmissions converted to audio. It sounded like music, but wrong somehow. Beautiful but disturbing at the same time. The frequency is increasing, Amy continued. Based on our analysis, they are moving to a final phase. Whatever they have been building toward for the past 2 centuries, it is about to happen. Ben looked at his teammates with fear in his eyes. What if we are too late? What if they activate their final program before we can stop them? Jake walked to the center of the room and looked at each person. Lisa with her scientific knowledge, Ben with his technical skills, Amy with her military training. These people represented humanity's best hope. "Then we better work faster," he said firmly. "Because if we fail, the human race as we know it ends forever." Outside the shielded facility, 8 billion people continued their daily routines, unaware that their entire civilization was built on a foundation of alien manipulation. Time was running out, and the final battle for human freedom was about to begin. Agent Mary Lopez sat in front of 12 computer screens showing data from around the world. Her job was to watch for changes in the alien signals. For 3 weeks, the patterns had stayed the same. But today was different. "Something is happening," she called out to the others in the underground facility. The transmission strength just jumped by 50%. Jake Morrison rushed to her workstation. The screen showed red warning lights flashing across every continent. Numbers climbed rapidly as the alien signals grew stronger by the hour. "How long has this been going on?" Jake asked. "It started about 2 hours ago," Mary replied, her fingers moving quickly across the keyboard. "All monitoring stations are reporting the same thing. The architects are no longer trying to hide their signals." Dr. Lisa Carter joined them, carrying a tablet filled with analysis data. "This matches what we feared. They are moving to the final phase of their plan." Dr. Tony Garcia ran into the room holding printouts from his computer systems. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly. "I found the trigger mechanism," he announced breathlessly. Everyone gathered around Tony as he spread the papers on the table. The documents showed complex diagrams and charts that looked like electronic blueprints. "There is a global transmission scheduled for next Tuesday," Tony explained. "Based on the signal architecture, it is designed to activate mass behavioral modification across the entire human population." Ben Hughes leaned over the papers, studying the technical details. "This is not gradual conditioning anymore. This is direct mind control. What exactly will happen?" Jake asked. Tony pointed to specific sections of the blueprints. "From what I can decode, the signal will override individual human consciousness. People will become like robots, following commands without question." Mary looked up from her screens. "The signal strength is still increasing. At this rate, even people with natural resistance will be affected." Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. "This explains why they accelerated their timeline. They have been monitoring our activities. They know we discovered their network." Amy Rodriguez entered the communications room carrying encrypted messages from their allies around the world. "I have updates from our resistance cells. Similar acceleration is happening everywhere." She read from the messages. "Moscow reports unusual behavior in military personnel. London says government officials are acting strangely. Tokyo has seen increased obedience in the general population." "They are testing the system," Jake realized, "making sure it works before the final activation." Tony pulled up more technical data on his laptop. "The good news is that we now know exactly how their network operates. The bad news is that stopping it will require destroying most of Earth's electronic infrastructure." Ben studied Tony's analysis. "You mean an electromagnetic pulse?" "Not exactly," Tony replied. "We need to create a specific frequency disruption that targets their control signals. But the power required would damage almost every electronic device on the planet." The room fell silent as everyone understood what this meant. Stopping the aliens would send human civilization back decades in technology. Mary spoke first. "Better than being slaves forever." Jake walked to the world map on the wall. Red pins marked every known alien transmission point. There were thousands of them across every continent. "What would we lose?" he asked. Lisa consulted her notes. "Internet, cell phones, satellite communications, GPS, most computers, modern cars, aircraft navigation systems, power grid controls, hospital equipment, banking systems. almost everything that makes modern life possible. But we would be free, Amy added firmly. Tony showed them his calculations. We have teams positioned at critical infrastructure points worldwide. If we coordinate the electromagnetic disruption properly, we can destroy their network while keeping essential systems like water treatment and emergency power functioning. Ben looked at the technical requirements. This is incredibly dangerous. One mistake, and we could cause more damage than the aliens. We have people ready to act in every major city, Amy reported. Moscow, Beijing, London, Paris, New York, Los Angeles, Sydney, Mumbai. Teams of engineers and technicians who understand what needs to be done. Mary's screen suddenly showed new activity. The alien signals just changed pattern again. This looks like preparation for the final transmission. Jake made a decision that would change human history forever. Contact all teams. Tell them we move in 72 hours. 72 hours? Lisa asked with surprise. Tony said the final transmission is scheduled for Tuesday. That gives us 3 days to prepare and execute. After that, it will be too late. Amy began typing encrypted messages to resistance cells worldwide. Teams in Russia, China, Australia, and Europe are standing by. They have been waiting for this order. Ben started calculating the technical requirements. We need perfect synchronization. If even one major transmission point stays active, the aliens can rebuild their network. Tony worked on his computer, refining the disruption frequency calculations. I can upload the exact specifications to all teams. Everyone will have the same technical parameters. Mary monitored alien activity on her screens. Their signals are getting stronger every hour. People in nearby towns are already showing increased compliance behavior. Jake looked around the room at his team. These people had discovered humanity's greatest threat and were now planning its most desperate gamble. Once we start this, there is no going back, he warned them. We will either free the human race or destroy modern civilization trying. Lisa stood and faced her colleagues. Then we better make sure we succeed. Outside the underground facility, millions of people continued their daily lives, unaware that their freedom hung in the balance. In 3 days, everything would change. Either humans would break free from centuries of alien control, or they would lose the last chance to save themselves. The final battle for human independence was about to begin. Jake Morrison checked his watch for the 100th time. 6 hours until 0 hour. Around the world, teams were moving into position at power stations, communication centers, and satellite facilities. The biggest coordinated operation in human history was about to begin. In the underground facility, Mary Lopez monitored communications from resistance cells worldwide. Her screens showed green lights as teams reported ready status from every continent. Moscow team is in position, she announced. Beijing confirms ready. London team has reached their target. Sydney is standing by. Amy Rodriguez stood next to a large map covered in red and green pins. Each green pin represented a team ready to strike at alien transmission points. Each red pin showed an active alien signal that needed to be destroyed. We have teams at over 300 critical locations, Amy reported. If this works, we will cut the alien network into pieces too small to function. Dr. Tony Garcia sat at his computer making final adjustments to the disruption frequency calculations. His hands moved quickly over the keyboard as he refined the technical specifications one last time. Remember, the electromagnetic pulse has to be precisely tuned, Tony called out to the room. Too weak and it will not damage their network. Too strong and we destroy everything, including the systems we need to survive. Ben Hughes worked at another station, coordinating with engineering teams around the globe. Power grid teams are ready to isolate essential systems. Hospital backup generators are prepared. Emergency services have been warned to expect total communications blackout. Lisa Carter reviewed medical reports from nearby towns. The alien influence is getting stronger by the hour. People are showing signs of complete compliance. Some are not even speaking unless directly asked questions. Jake walked to the window that showed the Colorado mountains outside. In a few hours, those mountains might be the only place on Earth still connected to modern technology. Everything else would go dark. Any word from the president? He asked Amy. President Davis is secure in the White House bunker. She understands what we are doing and supports the operation. Secret Service has isolated her from all electronic devices to prevent alien influence. Mary suddenly sat up straight in her chair. Warning signals from all monitoring stations. The aliens know something is wrong. On her screens, the alien transmission patterns changed dramatically. Instead of the steady pulses they had monitored for weeks, the signals became chaotic and urgent. What are they doing? Jake asked. Tony studied the new patterns on his computer. It looks like they are trying to activate their final program early. They must have detected our preparations. Ben pointed to readings from cities around the world. Look at this. People under strong alien control are moving toward our target locations. Police, military personnel, even civilians. They are all heading for communication centers and power stations. Amy grabbed her radio to contact field teams. All units be advised. Expect human interference at your locations. The aliens are using controlled individuals to stop us. The responses came back quickly from teams worldwide. The situation was the same everywhere. People with vacant expressions and determined purpose were converging on critical infrastructure points. Team 5 in New York reports hundreds of people surrounding their target building, Amy announced. Team 12 in London says police and military units are moving to protect alien transmission sites. Jake felt sick. The aliens were using innocent people as human shields. These were not enemy soldiers, but friends, neighbors, and family members whose only crime was being susceptible to alien influence. We cannot hurt those people, Lisa said firmly. They are victims, not enemies. But if we do not act, they will never be free, Ben replied grimly. Mary's screens flashed with urgent warnings. Signal strength just doubled worldwide. The aliens are no longer being subtle. People under their control will do anything to protect the network. Tony looked up from his calculations. We are out of time. If we wait any longer, even people with natural resistance will fall under their complete control. Jake made the hardest decision of his life. All teams, this is Prometheus Command. Execute operation on my mark in 60 seconds. Amy repeated the countdown over secure channels to resistance cells around the globe. Moscow, are you ready? Beijing, confirm status. London, prepare for execution. The final minute felt like an hour. Jake watched his team work at their stations, knowing that success or failure would determine the future of human freedom. 30 seconds, Amy announced. Mary monitored alien activity on her screens. They know we are about to act. Signal strength is off the charts. People under their control are becoming desperate to stop us. 10 seconds, Amy called out. Jake took a deep breath and gave the order that would change everything. All teams, execute now. Around the world, resistance fighters activated electromagnetic pulse devices at exactly the same moment. Power stations shut down alien-infected systems. Communication centers went dark. Satellite dishes stopped transmitting. The carefully coordinated attack struck the alien network simultaneously, from hundreds of locations. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Mary's screens showed alien signals disappearing across continents like lights going out in a city during a blackout. The red dots that had covered the world map for so long began blinking off one by one, but the aliens fought back. As their control network collapsed, they activated their final desperate measure, The sky outside the facility windows began to glow with an unnatural light. "Look outside," Ben called out in amazement. Through the reinforced windows, they could see massive shapes appearing in the sky above major cities around the world. The aliens had revealed themselves at last. Huge ships that had been hidden for decades now hung in the air like dark storm clouds. "They are dropping their disguise," Tony said in wonder. "Without their control network, they have no choice but to use direct intimidation." Jake watched the alien vessels appear over the horizon. The war for human freedom had just begun, but the first victory belonged to humanity. The invisible chains that had bound human minds for centuries were finally broken. "Phase 1 complete," he announced to his team. "Now the real fight starts." The alien ships hung in the sky like dark metal clouds over every major city on Earth. Jake Morrison stood outside the underground facility, looking up at the massive vessel hovering above Colorado Springs. It was bigger than any building he had ever seen, silent and threatening. "How many ships?" he asked Amy Rodriguez, who was monitoring reports from around the world. "Over 200 confirmed sightings," Amy replied, reading from her handheld radio. "New York has 5 ships. London has 3. Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, all the major cities have multiple vessels overhead." Mary Lopez ran outside carrying her laptop. "The ships are broadcasting on all frequencies. They want to talk." She set the computer on a nearby rock and adjusted the volume. A voice spoke in perfect English, cold and mechanical, but somehow familiar. "People of Earth, you have made a grave mistake. We are the architects. For 2 centuries, we have guided your species toward prosperity and peace. Your rebellion will bring only suffering." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. Prosperity for who? Peace for who? We were slaves and did not even know it. The alien voice continued from the speakers. "We offer you one final chance. Surrender now and restore our guidance systems. Your species will be forgiven and granted the same peaceful integration we have provided to countless worlds." Dr. Elisa Carter joined them outside, squinting at the massive ship above. "They are afraid," she said with surprise. "Listen to their words. They are trying to convince us, not simply ordering us." Then Hughes emerged from the facility carrying technical equipment. "I am detecting massive energy readings from the ships. They have weapons that could destroy entire cities, but they are not using them. Why not?" Jake asked. Tony Garcia appeared at his side with more monitoring devices. "Because they need us alive. Dead humans are useless to them. They spent 2 centuries conditioning us to be perfect workers. They cannot start over with a different species." The alien broadcast changed tone, becoming more urgent. "Your resistance is temporary. Without your technology, your civilization will collapse. Millions will die from starvation, disease, and chaos. We can prevent this suffering." Amy listened to reports coming in from resistance cells worldwide. Teams are reporting success in all major cities. The alien control network is completely destroyed. But people are confused and scared. Mary showed them footage on her laptop from news cameras that were still working on backup power. In cities around the world, people stood in the streets, looking up at the alien ships with fear and wonder. "Look at their faces," Lisa observed. For the first time in their lives, they are thinking completely for themselves. No alien influence, no hidden signals telling them what to feel. Jake watched the video feeds from New York, London, and Tokyo. Something amazing was happening. Instead of panic, people were gathering in groups, talking to each other, organizing themselves without any outside guidance. "They are not breaking down," he said with growing hope. "They are waking up." Ben pointed his instruments at the ship overhead. "The aliens are scanning us constantly. I think they are trying to understand why their predictions were wrong." The alien voice spoke again, but now it sounded frustrated. You do not understand the consequences of your actions. Other species in our empire will see your rebellion and question their own submission. You threaten the stability of our entire civilization. Tony smiled as he realized the importance of those words. They are not just afraid of losing Earth. They are afraid of losing everything. Amy received a new report from her radio. Jake, you need to hear this. Teams worldwide are reporting that local populations are fighting back against the alien ships. She adjusted the radio frequency to pick up civilian broadcasts. Voices speaking dozens of languages filled the air, but the message was the same everywhere. New York here. Citizens are using mirrors to reflect sunlight at the alien vessels. London reporting. People are throwing rocks and shooting fireworks at the ships. Tokyo calling. Civilians are jamming radio frequencies to disrupt alien communications. Jake listened in amazement. Without any coordination or leadership, ordinary people around the world were finding ways to resist the alien occupation. They are using everything they can find as weapons, Amy reported. Farmers are driving tractors in formation. Factory workers are building improvised devices. Even children are helping by spreading messages between neighborhoods. Lisa watched more footage on Mary's laptop. Look at this creativity. The aliens spent centuries trying to suppress human imagination, but it survived. People are inventing new forms of resistance faster than the aliens can respond. The ships began moving lower, trying to intimidate the populations below. But instead of cowering, more people came outside to watch and resist. Ben checked his instruments again. Energy readings from the ships are decreasing. I think they are losing power. How is that possible? Jake asked. Tony studied the data on his computer. Their ships must depend partly on the same control network we destroyed. Without it, they cannot operate at full capacity. The alien broadcast became desperate. You force us to use violence. Cease your resistance immediately or face destruction. But the threat rang hollow. The aliens had revealed their weakness. They needed humans cooperative, not dead. Their weapons were useless against a species they wanted to preserve. Jake picked up Amy's radio and spoke on the frequency the aliens were monitoring. This is Earth Command to all alien vessels. We reject your offer of slavery disguised as protection. Humanity chooses freedom over security, chaos over control. Around the world, resistance leaders echoed his message in their own languages. The response was the same everywhere. Earth would not surrender. One by one, the alien ships began rising higher into the atmosphere. Their centuries-long plan had failed completely. Humanity had not only broken free, but inspired them to fight back with creativity and determination. The aliens could not understand. They are leaving. Mary announced as she tracked the ships on her laptop. Jake watched the massive vessel above Colorado Springs disappear into the clouds. Send a message to every world in their empire. Tell them Earth stands free. Tell them that humans chose liberty over comfort. And tell them that if they want their freedom back, we will teach them how to take it. Earth stood alone in the galaxy. Its technology damaged, its society uncertain, but its people truly free for the first time in centuries.